Hurricane Debby. It has made landfall near Steinhatchee as of 7 a.m. this morning. This is a Category 1 hurricane. It has followed a track very, very similar to Hurricane Idalia 11 months ago. The maximum sustained winds for Debby have reached 80 miles an hour with higher gusts throughout the storm area. This storm has produced and will likely produce significant flooding events from Sarasota-Bradenton area all the way up to northern Florida. Do not go walk or drive into flooded roadways. There are hazards there. They're dangerous. We want everybody to be safe. Well, good morning. I'm here at the State Emergency Operations Center in Tallahassee to provide an update on Hurricane Debby. It has made landfall near Steinhatchee as of 7 a.m. this morning. Joining me today to discuss some of this will be Kevin Guthrie, who's the Executive Director of the Florida Division of Emergency Management, and you'll hear from him shortly. We are still at a Level 1 activation. We continue to utilize all available resources of the State Emergency Response Team to respond to this storm. This is a Category 1 hurricane. It has followed a track very, very similar to Hurricane Idalia 11 months ago. The maximum sustained winds for Debby have reached 80 miles an hour with higher gusts throughout the storm area. To contrast that with Idalia, Idalia reached close to 120 mile per hour in sustained winds. We have seen significant storm surge. We have seen inundation. We have seen and will continue to see flooding in various parts of the state of Florida. This storm is expected to move throughout north central Florida and likely go into Georgia and in the Carolinas. Yesterday and into this morning, we saw impacts throughout the west coast of Florida, starting in southwest Florida and continuing up the coast. This storm has produced and will likely produce significant flooding events from Sarasota-Bradenton area all the way up to northern Florida. And that's not something that just happens when the storm passes. There's a ongoing threat of that over the ensuing days. Now that Hurricane Debby is making landfall, the most important thing to do is to just protect yourself and protect your family. Don't go out into this storm. Don't drive on the roads, particularly when they're flooded. We have had some traffic mishaps over the last 12 hours. And when you have flood situations, that is the number one way where we will see fatalities, is by people being out on the roads and hydroplaning or having other problems. So do not go walk or drive into flooded roadways. There are hazards there. They're dangerous. We want everybody to be safe. Power. So far, we have about 143,000 Floridians without power. We have a lot of restoration personnel ready to go to get it back on. I think because this is a Category 1 with 80-mile-an-hour sustained winds, the total number of power outages are not going to reach the level that they did with Hurricane Idalia, and certainly not the level that they did with Hurricane Ian back in 2022. But we do have 17,000 linemen that are ready to assist with restoring power immediately. And I know a lot of the utilities have already restored hundreds of thousands of folks starting yesterday. We also have Starlink internet ready to deploy if that is needed. So we're standing by. We want to assist all the local communities with anything that they need. As I mentioned yesterday, we have been approved for federal disaster assistance. Our pre-landfall declaration was approved. Our National State Guard are ready for search, rescue, and humanitarian assistance as needed. State emergency response teams also fully engaged in preparedness and now our response efforts. We have our Florida Highway Patrol that are ready to enter their Alpha Bravo shifts. That's 24-hour, round-the-clock, nonstop shifts. We have 3,000 service members from the Florida National Guard that are on standby, and that includes search and rescue, route clearance, distribution, and protection of critical infrastructure. They have 10 rotary aircraft and over 400 tactical vehicles staged to support relief operations. And we have our Florida State Guard, where we have 100 soldiers, 9 shallow water vessels, 10 UTVs, 2 amphibious rescue vehicles, and 7 search and rescue crews ready to be deployed from Camp Blanding as needed. Florida Fish and Wildlife, as the flooding happens, they have 12 swiftwater rescue teams ready to go. And they are going to be very dynamic in this and move to where the problems are. We've also have on hand for this storm statewide 11 million bottles of water, almost 3 million shelf-stable meals. We do not anticipate needing to put a major dent in that at this time, but we will be ready if those circumstances change. Our Florida Department of Transportation has been clearing roads and shoulders for the last few days. Cut and toss efforts to clear roadways and highways will start as soon as the storm passes. The Sunshine Skyway Bridge and the Howard Franklin Bridge have been temporarily closed due to high winds and will be reopened as quickly as possible once conditions improve. And there are a number of roads that have been flooded and that have been temporarily closed. And so as soon as it's safe, they obviously want to get everything back open. We also have FDOT crews staged to inspect coastal bridges, and we'll be monitoring water levels at low-lying bridges near major river crossings, particularly in the northern part of Florida. As I mentioned yesterday, people with disability or special needs, if you need assistance, you can sign up at snr.flhealthresponse.com. That's Florida Department of Health, snr.flhealthresponse.com. Although we haven't had major power outages compared to some of the past storms, if you are without power and you want to use a generator, please do not use that generator inside your home. Make sure you're operating it 20 feet away from the home. We don't want to see anybody get killed based on the carbon monoxide that will build up when those are run inside people's homes. I want to thank everybody who's been involved in the preparation efforts. We've got a lot of work ahead of us. There's going to be a lot of water that's going to be dumped throughout the state, and we're going to see effects of that not just today, but in the ensuing days. But we are prepared. We have the resources that we need, and those will be deployed as needed to help with the recovery and the response efforts. And